And you know, tiramisu is really a nice dessert and means pick-me-up in Italian because of all the little neat ingredients that are in here. And I want to show you how to make the base for tiramisu. So you have to start with eggs. And here I've got, 4 egg yolks in a bowl, but I really want 6. So I have to separate my eggs, and I really want these eggs to be at room temperature. So I want my whites in one bowl, and I want my yolks in another. And now, when you separate eggs, you have to be real careful because the egg whites are going to have to be beaten later on, you see. And you don't want any of the white, or any of the yolk rather, in your egg whites. Otherwise, you're going to have egg whites that aren't going to beat very well. So once you've done that, once you've separated the eggs, the 6 eggs that have been separated, well then put the whites aside and work with the yolks first. So here are my yolks, and now what I want to do is beat these until they become light. And I want to add a little sugar. So here I've got, a half a cup plus 2 tablespoons of sugar. And I just want to add that gradually. So that looks pretty good. So there. Now I can set this aside, you see, and work on the egg whites. No, I can't. The next thing I have to do is add the flour. You see, I'm so excited about this, I'm forgetting what I'm doing. So here I've got a cup of flour. This is just unbleached regular flour, and I've spooned it into my measuring cup. I don't want to pack the flour in, but now I want to sift it a little bit. I really want this to be light. So you can use a hand sifter, you can use this. So I'm going to put a little bit of flour in. Okay, all right. There, now that I have it everywhere, that's what I want, fairly thick. Now I'm going to get the rest of that flour mixed in because I want to make sure that that's well blended. And you see how thick that is now. So now, after you've done this, then you can put the bowl aside and work on the egg whites. And here they are, behold them, and they are 6, as I said. Now, they're at room temperature, and they're in a copper bowl. And really, if you know anything about egg whites, you know that egg whites should be beaten in a copper bowl. Something about the copper ions mixing with the egg whites. But if you don't have a copper bowl, do this in a stainless steel bowl. But don't do it in a glass bowl because the egg whites tend to slip down a little. So now, there, I think that's about right, but I'm going to test it just to be sure. And you see how they just stand up on my spatula. That means that they're ready to go. Okay, so now we're ready for the next step, you see, and that's to bring back this egg yolk, sugar, and flour mixture, and now you want to put this in here. You want to do what's called folding, and you want to put a little bit of the egg whites in at a time, you see, and now you want to make sure that you take your spatula and bring it up over around the egg whites. But what I don't want to do is deflate these egg whites. So that looks pretty good. So now we're ready to form those. And to do it, you need a cookie sheet, you see. And here's a cookie sheet, and you can either grease it with butter or you could use parchment paper. And parchment paper prevents these cookies from sticking. So I want that, and then I want a pastry bag. And now this is just, an old beat-up pastry bag that I use at home for a lot of different things, and it's great for making ladyfingers. But if you don't have a pastry bag, you can use 2 spoons, like I said. So then just put it in something that's going to prop it up. And now here's my batter. Let me bring that over. And now what I want to do is carefully put some of that right in my bag, you see? And then just squeeze it. And then bring it out and twist the top, and then very gently on your cookie sheet, then you want to begin pressing out the lady fingers. And I'm making mine, about 1.5 to 2 inches long. They just need one more thing, and that is, a little sprinkling of sugar. And here what I've got is just a combo of confectioner's sugar and granulated sugar. You need about 2 tablespoons of each for this recipe. So just take some and put it in a sieve, you see, just a little sieve. And then you want to give that a nice, generous sprinkling. And this really gives these ladyfingers a very nice texture and crunch to them. So get each one well coated. And then while you're doing this, of course, you've got your oven on to 350 degrees. You've preheated it because these should go into a preheated oven. So there, let me get just a little bit more here and here because I want all of these to be perfect, you see. And there. Now they're ready to go into the oven. So take them over, and remember to preheat the oven. And now, depending on your oven, you're going to want to let these cook, about 10 to 15 minutes, just until they're lightly browned. And they look perfectly beautiful. So there they are, and they've got to cool down a little bit. You just want those to be nicely browned. Now, while they're cooling down, I'm going to make the filling for this for you. And before I do that, I've got to clear the deck. So I'm going to make a little room here, get rid of some of this stuff. And now we have to start basically where we began, again with egg yolks. And here I've got 3 egg yolks that I've already beaten with a half a cup of sugar. And remember, we want that to be fairly smooth and not grainy. So after you do that, whip those up a little bit. Then you can add the rest of the ingredients to this. And here I've got, this is espresso, and I have about a tablespoon of it. So you want to put that in, and that's what gives you that pick-me-up. And if you don't have espresso, well, then you could just use some very strong coffee. And then here I have a little brandy. So you want about, 2 tablespoons. I think that was a little hefty on the brandy, but this is going to taste very good. So now you want to beat that up, you see. Mascarpone is a cheese from Lombardia in northern Italy, and it's a sweet dessert cheese, and the Italians love it in many things. And now you can buy this in a grocery store, or in most grocery stores, and if you can't find it, well, don't throw up your hands in despair. You can always use cream cheese for this. So there's my mascarpone, and that's about, a cup. So now you want to get that well mixed, because now we have 3 egg whites that have been stiffly beaten, just like I did before for you. Now I want to put these in, you see, a little at a time again. And I have to do the old fold. There's just a lot of possibilities here, and I'll show you what I'm going to use. So let me move this out of the way. And I'm feeling really fancy today, so I'm going to put it in a dish like this. But you could also use something like this. You see, a springform pan, or you could just use an old baking dish. So now that that's ready, well, I can put that aside and bring over more espresso. I have about a cup here. And here are some lady fingers. And now what you want to do is just dip those, you see, very quickly. So there's my first layer, you see. And now I could put some of this cheese in. So I want a nice layer of that. And there, and you go all the way around like this. So with a dessert like this, the options are many as to how you would decorate it. There. Now I can finish putting in my last layer. And I think I have just about enough fingers to do that. Last thing I want is some cocoa. And this is just Dutch processed cocoa. I'm going to put a little bit right in a little sieve. And then it gets a nice, wonderful sprinkling. You see, this is very traditional on tiramisu. And I'm going right around the edge. And I think that's just about enough. But you know, you could be even a little bit more creative. Now, I like to do different little things with this. And now here are some, just leaves that I picked from outside. They're washed, of course. And I just lay them down like this. And then you could put something like a strawberry, you see, right in the center.